Virginia is a state in the mid-Atlantic and southeastern region of the United States, between the Atlantic coast and the Appalachian Mountains. Virginia is bordered by West Virginia and Maryland in the north, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and the Atlantic Ocean in the east, North Carolina and Tennessee in the south, and Kentucky and West Virginia in the west. Virginia is about 430 miles long and 200 miles wide. The Commonwealth of Virginia is divided into 95 counties, along with 38 independent cities that are considered county equivalents for census purposes. The state's capital is Richmond. Virginia Beach is the most populous city in the state. It is the 35th largest state by area in the whole nation. In 1606, a group of wealthy London businessmen petitioned King James I for a charter to establish a colony in the New World. They formed the Virginia Company and set out to establish a permanent English settlement in the Americas. The British were in competition with the Spanish, who had established colonies in Central and South America and had stolen vast amounts of treasure and wealth from the native inhabitants. The English were eager to find similar wealth in the northern part of the Americas. They also wanted to establish permanent towns in the New World to stake a claim for the British government. The colony of Virginia was the first enduring English colony in North America, following failed attempts at settlement on Newfoundland and the colony of Roanoke. The colony was named for Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, and under its original charter was granted most of the lands stretching westward from the Atlantic seaboard settlements to the Mississippi River and beyond, territories yet unexplored by Europeans. By the end of the 17th century, Virginia had established tobacco as its main crop, a representative government, and slavery as a dominant system of labor. Eventually, Virginia and the other American colonies wanted independence from England. This led to the American Revolution, which began in 1775. Numerous Virginians played key roles in the revolution, including George Washington, Patrick Henry, and Thomas Jefferson. On the 25th of June, 1788, Virginia became the 10th state in the Union. Virginia has many water features that were particularly important to the early history of the state. For instance, the Atlantic Ocean provided transportation links between Virginia and other places such as Europe, Africa, and the Caribbean. The Chesapeake Bay provided a safe harbor that was a source of food and transportation. The Chesapeake Bay is the largest inlet in the eastern United States, stretching up to 35 miles wide. Some of the largest lakes in Virginia are Kerr Lake, Smith Mountain Lake, and Lake Gaston. Roanoke River, James River, and New River are the three longest rivers in the state. The Potomac River flows into Chesapeake Bay and separates it from Maryland. Western Virginia comprises three physiographically defined mountain provinces, from west to east. The first of these is the Appalachian Plateau, the smallest of the provinces, located in the southwestern tip of the state. The next two provinces run from northeast to southwest, generally paralleling the state's western boundary. The Valley and Ridge Province consists of linear ridges in its western segment and the Great Appalachian Valley in its eastern region. The Blue Ridge Province is mostly a region of rugged mountains, part of a range stretching southward from Pennsylvania to South Carolina. The state's highest point, Mount Rogers, at an elevation of 5,729 feet, lies in the Blue Ridge area. The Atlantic coastal plain runs from north to south along the Atlantic Ocean. This area of lowlands stretches about 100 miles inland and is covered with salt marshes and swamps. To the west of the Atlantic coastal plain is the Piedmont, Virginia's largest geographical land region. The rolling plain of the Virginia Piedmont covers most of central Virginia. About 40 miles wide in the northeast, the Piedmont expands to about 140 miles wide at the North Carolina border. Virginia has a humid subtropical climate that transitions to humid continental west of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Virginia receives an average of 43 inches of precipitation annually, with the Shenandoah Valley being the state's driest region due to the mountains on either side. The United States Census Bureau found the state resident population was 8,631,000 people on the 1st of April 2022. A 7.9% increase since the 2010 United States Census. Nearly three-fourths of Virginia's residents are of white European descent. African Americans constitute a substantial minority, about one-fifth of the population, serving as a reminder of the important role that enslaved African people and their descendants played in the early development of the state. Native Americans account for a tiny fraction of Virginia's population. The state's Hispanic community has been growing rapidly since the late 20th century. Virginia's largest cities are Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Norfolk, Arlington, and Richmond. In 2022, Virginia's GDP reached $498.8 billion, representing an increase of 1.3% from 2021. Virginia's GDP has grown at an annualized rate of 1.3% over the 5 years to 2022. Moreover, Virginia's trailing 5-year GDP growth ranks it 24th out of all 50 US states. It is an extremely powerful and influential state.